People often said that Takayashiki Rua was no ordinary girl. She was known as one of the most popular young idols in the country and also the granddaughter of Takayashiki Tao, the powerful chairman of the Takayashiki Group, a corporate empire that practically ruled Japan. Because of this, she lived like a real-life princess, surrounded by wealth, fame, and influence. By contrast, her childhood friend Suzuki Kazuma was known to be painfully ordinary. Classmates referred to him as gloomy, plain, friendless, and, as they liked to joke, hopelessly maidenless. His only notable trait, people said, was that he had grown up beside Rua. For years he had lived in that role, trailing in her shadow like some kind of loyal attendant. Yet those who knew him well understood that he never wanted such a life. All he longed for was something simple: genuine friends, a girlfriend, and an ordinary existence unaffected by her overwhelming presence. He once tried to express these desires to Rua, hoping she would understand, but everything spiraled in the worst possible direction. Rua had replied with venom, asking him if he was stupid and reminding him coldly that he should know his place as a worthless loser. According to her, his only value in life came from being her childhood friend, nothing more. Every point of self-worth he possessed, she said, had already been used up filling that single role. Those words, "know your place," echoed in his mind like a curse. She had repeated them to him for years, and he had carried them like a burden on his back. Even so, he still wished for a normal life. That wish resurfaced in the spring of his first year of high school. One afternoon, he received a message from Rua asking him to meet her at the station the next day at 3 p.m. She said that she and some friends planned to go to karaoke and asked if he wanted to join. From her message, he figured that Ya must have been Hiyagi Ayaka, the flashy girl from school he had never really spoken to. At first, he wondered why they invited someone like him. Then the message mentioned his wish for friends, and even a girlfriend, saying that joining their group would be a good first step. That was all he needed to cling to hope. He believed, with shining eyes, that this might finally be his chance to change. Kazuma dressed as neatly as he could. He even visited a barber to try a fresh haircut, thinking it was finally the moment to reinvent himself. But when he entered the karaoke room, the truth hit him instantly. Everyone burst into cruel laughter, mocking him for showing up. They ridiculed his haircut, joked about how he smelled like a hair salon, and made fun of his new jacket. Rua laughed the loudest, telling them mockingly to stop teasing him, because he had clearly tried his best. Only Ayaka seemed unamused, sitting quietly while the others jeered. Kazuma said nothing. He simply stood there as the laughter washed over him, realizing that the entire invitation had been a setup. Rua then stood and asked why he was standing there so awkwardly. She cheered him on, telling him to cry in front of everyone because she had bet 10,000 yen that he would. Ignoring her mockery, he whispered a single question: what exactly he had done wrong to deserve this? With a devilish smile, Rua told him the answer was obvious. He was her slave. She encouraged him to struggle and put on a good show. Then she admitted, almost proudly, that she had always hated the idea of him being her childhood friend. Kazuma froze. He felt something shatter, like chains snapping one by one. With emptied, expressionless eyes, he looked through her and said he felt the same. He suggested they cut ties. Rua could not comprehend what she had heard. She shouted that a loser like him had no right to talk back. But Kazuma calmly reminded her that she was the one who had been complaining. She insisted that she alone had the right to hate him, but he was finished listening. He clenched his fist and slammed it into the table, splitting it with a force no one expected from him. Then he turned toward the door, saying it was settled, and walked out without another word. The room fell silent. Rua's friends tried to console her, calling Kazuma lame and telling her not to worry. Ayaka pointed out, stunned, that he had actually broken the table. Some refused to believe any human could do that. Rua, trembling with rage, shouted that she would never forgive him for ending their friendship. Kazuma, meanwhile, felt strangely refreshed. He wondered why he had allowed her to control him for so long. Now that the ties were cut, he preferred to face high school alone rather than sell his soul to someone who treated him like a beast of burden. For the first time, he felt free. That same night, the story shifted to Rua's grandfather, Takayashiki Tao. He was just reviewing documents with his usual stern demeanor. However, once Rua entered the room, calling out to him, his expression softened immediately. Rua complained to him that Kazuma had been mean to her and said he wanted to cut their friendship. This shocked her cousin, Takayashiki Kikura, who asked if Rua was telling the truth. Rua admitted it reluctantly but defended herself by saying she had only teased him, even after confessing she had called him her slave and said being his childhood friend was the worst. Kikura pointed out that anyone would be upset after hearing something like that, but Rua insisted she was only joking. Jealousy began to bubble up as she explained that she became furious when she saw Kazuma trying to make friends, or worse, looking for a girlfriend. She found the very idea ridiculous. She argued that since she was always by his side, he shouldn't want to be close to anyone else. Kikura suggested that wanting friends was completely normal, but Rua screamed that it wasn't. She insisted that only she understood him and then, without hesitation, declared that she loved him. That declaration was all their grandfather needed to put the blame squarely on Kazuma. Kikura, however, was the only one who seemed to see things clearly. She urged Rua to apologize, but Rua refused and instead demanded that Kikura force Kazuma to apologize to her and confess his love, with a kiss included. Kikura nearly lost her composure at Rua's delusion. She then asked Tao point-blank whether he intended for Rua to marry Kazuma. He confirmed that he did, explaining that this was precisely why he had her teach Kazuma martial arts and leadership from an early age. He considered Kazuma a rare talent. Kikura agreed, saying she had never seen anyone like him. She recalled how Kazuma had always scored exactly average on purpose, so he would blend in while serving as Rua's perfect shadow. She explained that if Kazuma ever stopped suppressing himself and chose to aim higher, not just the school or the nation, but the entire world would feel the impact. She also revealed that Kazuma had been extremely popular with girls since childhood, to the point that many had transferred schools because of him, though he never realized it. Rua beamed proudly at this, calling him her Kazuma. Tao added that this was why Kazuma was worthy of inheriting his company. Kikura, however, sensed that now that Kazuma had cut ties with Rua, he no longer needed to hold himself back, and she quietly waited for the moment when everything would spiral out of control. The following morning, tension rippled through the corridors of Teikai Academy. In the center of the hallway sat a single desk and chair, the desk that belonged to Kazuma. Students whispered that this was his punishment for daring to oppose Rua Takayashiki. Given the academy's rigid hierarchy, most believed only an heiress like Rua could order something so humiliating. Teikai Academy was no ordinary school. It was a training ground for S-class talent, a place where the elite of Japan, athletes, artists, entertainers, and scholars were recruited under full scholarships. The building itself belonged to Rua's family, and the academy operated on a strict caste system. Rua sat comfortably at the top. Kazuma, glancing at his displaced desk, remained calm. He weighed his options. He could drag the desk back into class and endure ridicule, or he could report this to the staff. But since Rua's grandfather controlled the entire institution, complaints were pointless. So instead of responding the way everyone expected, he wrote a message on the paper taped to the chair stating that he would be studying on his own. Since the order came from Princess Rua herself, he asked that the school consider him present. Students murmured in surprise, astonished by his clear-headed defiance. Without fuss, Kazuma walked away and headed for a more peaceful location, the hidden underground library, a spot so obscure that even many teachers didn't know it existed. He was allowed entry because he was a regular, and the senior librarian trusted him. As he descended the stairs, Kazuma reflected on how he had always dreamed of a normal life. Now that he had cut ties with Rua, he doubted he could make friends easily or find a girlfriend. Gripping the doorknob, he told himself he simply wanted to live quietly on his own. But when he opened the door, he was startled to find a girl inside,